This has certainly been a historic week. Journalist Evan Gershkovich and U.S. Marine Paul Whelan are finally free. Their families and this nation can celebrate. After being held under false pretenses in Russia, a deal was finally made for their release. U.S. Marine Paul Whelan was detained in Russia in 2018 and Evan Gershkovich of the Wall Street Journal since 2023. Both men were accused by Putin's tyrannical government of espionage on a manufactured basis. Two others were released alongside them. President Biden confirmed the news in a statement. And let me be clear, I will not stop working until every American wrongfully detained or held hostage around the world is reunited with their family. My administration has now brought home over 70 such Americans, many of whom were in captivity since before I took office. Still, too many families are suffering and separated from their loved ones. I have no higher priority as president than bringing those Americans home. Now, we are glad these hostages are free. We are glad Russia released them and came to the table for a deal. These words from President Biden are nice, but they are simply that, words. There are still 8 American hostages left in Gaza right now, and with war raging, the heads of Hamas killed and Israel dug in, ready to take on Iran, it is growing increasingly unlikely the families of these hostages will see their loved ones again. This is, however, about a larger issue, that under this administration, other countries or terrorist groups feel emboldened to kidnap American citizens in a way they never were under Trump. Biden is not working around the clock to get these Americans out. He can't even stay awake past 6. But I digress. At issue here is that we still have no one at the helm running this country in the eyes of our adversaries. Biden is not running for re-election, and now that he's a lame duck, that leaves Kamala Harris at the negotiating table. A woman too chicken to even show up at the Black journalists' dinner in Chicago to face off Trump. Kamala Harris at the negotiating table should be a terrifying thought for the families of hostages. Remember, this week, the Biden administration let the mastermind of 9/11 off on a plea deal. Now, the Biden team is trying to say they had nothing to do with it, but everything to do with bringing home these hostages. That Kakala put on her serious face and got things done? I'm pretty skeptical. While running for president, she has been emerging from her VP shell, taking on more presidential duties. But she's already signaling to the world her weakness. First, she is too scared to anger a fraction of her base by being seen with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Second, Madam Kakala showed fear by not showing up this week on stage in front of a friendly audience in Chicago at the NABJ conference. She's telling the world she's afraid of Donald Trump and Netanyahu. Don't tell me the Resolute desk magically imparts a dose of courage once you become president.
And I've told them each time they are not alone, and I stand with them. And President Biden and I are working every day to bring them home. I also expressed with the Prime Minister my serious concern about the scale of human suffering in Gaza, including the death of far too many innocent civilians.
Vice President Harris also called for a ceasefire as soon as possible and stressed that Netanyahu get a deal done. Now, we of course do not want to see innocent life lost anywhere. Maybe if there were not American hostages in the mix in Gaza, her words and position would make sense. But by physically having skin in the game, America cannot act as a neutral party here. It is hard to call for Americans to come home while then turning around and loosely equivocating your ally with the very people that captured Americans. You can't broker a deal while confusing and angering the people trying to help you. Americans cannot do their jobs or be free abroad if this administration is there to fight on your behalf. There should never be one American hostage. Whatever happened to we don't negotiate with terrorists? There should be no deals, just a demand that means that America will act if any American is harmed. As we celebrate Americans coming home, we must ask ourselves before Election Day, given the two potential leaders, if you were our adversaries, who would you rather face off?
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.